Hi everyone, this is Jordan, your Miss Florida Royal with the Miss National American Teen and Collegiate Pageants. Today I'm going to be showing you how to cook a really healthy salmon meal and also talking a little bit about my platform for you guys. So first things first, I'm going to let you know what my platform is. My platform is all about self-care and wellness, which is all about taking care of your health, whether it's physically or mentally. So that's like something that's super important right now, especially if we're really stuck inside quarantine and we're all alone, like at home, have nothing to do. We're really limited on options. So I thought cooking a meal would be one of like the best ways and the funnest ways to do something at home. Try to find be creative in the kitchen, try new flavors while you're at home. The reason why I chose self-care and wellness is because it was something that's super important to me. I recently graduated from college 2 years ago, and when I was in college, I remembered being super stressed out all the time, developing like super bad eating habits. We had Chick-fil-A on campus. I went there like almost every day. And then just bad sleeping habits and just bad health in general. I realized that kind of rolled over as I graduated and became more of a real adult, worked full time. And that made me realize like I need to start taking care of my health a lot more and putting myself first and taking care of myself first and kind of taking a breather and making sure I can step back away from my work so I can take care of my health and eating and working out, being active, anything like that. The ways that I like to show my platform is I like volunteering around Jacksonville. Anything locally, sometimes like around with UNF, we do Land O' Wing Pantry or Osier Gardens, which is their local gardens. You can volunteer there and they give you like free vegetables. And I also like to volunteer at local schools. Right now I'm volunteering at Terry Parker High School and Lakeshore Middle School with their cheer team. So just multiple things that are really fun. And even so, I think volunteering is a form of self-care in itself, just because it's fun to volunteer, meet a lot of new people, and it kind of takes the stress out of your day because you're helping out and doing something active, whether it's outside or indoors. So today I'm just gonna show you a little quick recipe. Right now I'm gonna have my Brussels sprouts ready. Sorry if you can't really see it. I have really bad lighting in my kitchen. So I just have like about 1.5 cups of Brussels sprouts, and I'm going to season them with some sea salt. You kind of just like judge it based off your taste. Don't put too much salt because you don't want it to be too salty, but do put like enough that you can taste the flavor and you're not getting like that bitter taste of like Brussels sprouts, because I know some people feel that their like greens can be bitter. I typically love Brussels sprouts though. You're gonna season it with some pepper. Again, to taste. Probably just like a few pinches of pepper. Some sesame oil. So I just do about like a couple tablespoons of sesame oil. And then I use crushed red pepper to give it a little spice. And with that, you just do like a few shakes. You don't want it to, sometimes if you want it to be spicy, you can add a little bit more just to give you that kick. But I just typically use like about a tablespoon. Sorry. So with this, you could just mix it all together. You could use a spoon. I'm using my hands right now. And make sure it's just well combined. You don't want like salt on one piece of Brussels sprout. That doesn't really taste that good, and you don't want it to be really salty. So it'll just look like that. Again, hopefully you can see it. It's got like a little bit of herbs in it. And then you're gonna put it on a baking sheet. Just like evenly spread it out. So it'll look just like that. So my oven is preheated to about 425 degrees, and you're gonna let it sit there for about 15 to 20 minutes or until it's like charred and roasted. So a nice tip for if you're trying to create a healthy meal is if you're trying to make sure that you have like enough grains, enough vegetables, and all the protein you want, just look at your plate and kind of fraction it out. I usually take half my plate and put that as vegetables. A quarter of my plate would be my protein, and then a quarter of my plate would be my carbohydrates or my grains. So of course our protein is going to be the salmon. I have 4 pieces of salmon because I'm going to be cooking dinner for my sister too. So they're just like tiny little pieces of salmon. So that would be 2 pieces for myself because that would be a quarter of my plate. For your salmon, you're just going to season it with some salt and pepper on both sides. And right now my pan is prepared and heated at about a medium low. You don't want it too high because once you put your salmon into the pan, you don't want to burn it or overcook it really fast. You kind of want to take your time on it. Again, another healthy tip for when you're cooking salmon or any type of protein, if you want to get it a little less like calories, if you like want a lighter meal, try to avoid like sauces or any heavy creams or heavy gravies, just because those would be a little salty on your salmon, and salmon already is like a salty flavor. So in my pan, I'm going to be putting some extra virgin olive oil, just a couple of tablespoons, and then I sliced some garlic. You don't need to mince it. I usually just do little thin slices of garlic, and that's about 3 cloves. Right, I'm gonna show you my pan. So that's my salmon, and this is my pan. All right. Again, we're gonna put it on a medium-low. Make sure it's on a medium-low. Wow. Sorry, I'm on my iPad, so it's gonna be rotating. I apologize. Again, just like a couple of tablespoons. And since my salmon's pretty small, I could probably fit all of them on one pan, but if not, don't try to like squeeze them all in one pan. So once you put your oil into the pan, you want to make sure that it kind of smokes up, has that white smoke, so you're ready to put your salmon in. But first we're going to put our garlic in, just to give it a good flavor of garlic. I really like garlic. So if you're like me, you probably also enjoy the smell of garlic and olive oil like sizzling in a pan. It smells really good. And again, you don't want to burn your garlic, you kind of just want to brown it. Make sure that the flavors of the garlic are going into your oil before you put your salmon in. So we're going to put our salmon in. I'm going to just do 2 at a time just to show you and so it's not like clumped up in the pan. You want to be careful with this step as well, just because you don't want it to splatter at you or anything like that. So a good tip while you're cooking is you don't want to make have any water on your salmon. Kind of like pat it dry before you put it in your pan, so it won't splat in your face or anything. Now we're just going to sit and wait till it cooks, and you want it to have a good brown sear on it. And the way you can judge that is if you look at your salmon and to make sure if you want to flip it, you want to see that it's white on the bottom, and that white is going to go towards the middle of the salmon. So I mentioned for your plate, if you wanted to add some carbohydrates, you can have some healthy carbohydrates. I made some roasted sweet potato. And of course, that's with my fraction of my plate. It's going to be a quarter of your plate for your carbohydrates. If you're not a fan of sweet potato, you could also do quinoa or jasmine rice, any type of grain that you prefer. So as you can see, the white is going towards the middle of the salmon, and these are pretty thin salmon fillets, so they will cook a little quicker. So again, that's why I put it on about a medium-low, because you don't want it to burn or overcook. And look at that, it's like brown and seared on one side, and you want to make sure that's on the other side as well. And by the time you're done cooking your salmon, your Brussels sprouts should be also finished. Again, your Brussels sprouts are going to be in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes on a 425 degree oven. And although I did say that you need to kind of wait on your Brussels sprouts and make sure you let it sit there for about 15 to 20 minutes, be sure to check it just in case. Some people's ovens may like speed up the process and burn your Brussels sprouts and you don't realize, so just keep an eye on your Brussels sprouts while you're cooking your salmon. So as you can see, this is my Brussels sprouts. You can see that it's browning a little bit on some of the edges, but it's not quite done. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but salmon's a really healthy protein that has really good fatty acids that are really good for your hair and especially to give you a healthy scalp. Fish oil in general is just really healthy for you. Salmon's just one of my favorite fish. And then you can check on the other side to see. Flip it a little bit again. Kind of give the one side of your salmon that last good brown sear. And depending on how thick your salmon is, it might take about 2 to 3 minutes per side. Also depending on how hot you put your pan. I'm pushing the garlic closer to the salmon as well while I'm cooking it to just have the garlic fuse into that salmon. And it is common that you will probably have to flip it a couple of times. So right now it's ready. You don't want to overcook your salmon again. And we're going to plate the salmon. I do like crispy garlic, so if you want to, you could always take a piece of the garlic and top off your salmon with it. And again, that's using your fractions on your plate again. Make sure that you are putting a quarter of your plate as your proteins, a quarter of your carbohydrates, and then this half is saved for the Brussels sprouts or any veggies that you're trying to put in your meal. We're going to put the last couple of salmon slices just to give you guys another sizzly salmon. So when you're placing your salmon, make sure that you're being careful again. Make sure it's patted down and not wet or dripping with water so it doesn't splat in your face. And then we're going to go ahead and push the garlic towards the salmon again. And keep an eye on it and make sure that the bottom is getting white and being brought towards the middle of the salmon. So I know while we're stuck in quarantine, we're a little stressed out sometimes. This month is also anti-stress awareness, it's stress awareness month. So we're being anti-stress this month. So take time to breathe, take time to go outside, go for a walk. I've been going on a lot of walks lately. And my neighborhood's really beautiful. We have a lot of trees, so just breathing in that fresh air gives me a good feeling. Alright, the one side of the salmon is a little thinner, so it's cooking a little faster, so if you want to, you could go ahead and flip the one side of the salmon. You can go ahead and wait for the other side, because this side is a little thicker. I don't know if you can tell. So you might need to wait on that one a little bit more. And we're going to put it a little bit on medium, just because we want it to cook a little faster now, because they are thicker slices. The thicker slice you want to put towards the middle of your pan too, because that's going to be the hottest part of your pan. So you want that to cook a little faster than the other side. Again, you're going to be looking for the brown sear like you had on your last slices of salmon. You're going to make sure that the edges are browning and it's got a good sear to it. So this one is getting a little more cooked, so we can flip this now. And we're going to wait for the other side to get that white. Miss Amy in the chat asked what my platform is. My platform is self-care and wellness, which is all about taking care of your health mentally or physically. So that includes mental health awareness, staying active, or just learning more about your nutrition and health. So I know a lot of us are, when I mentioned carbohydrates, I bet a lot of you were like, oh, I can't eat carbs. Carbs are bad for you. But then again, we also all love bread, and bread is really delicious. But not all carbs are just bread. Again, I have sweet potatoes as my carbs, and you have other healthy carbs to put on your plate. You could do quinoa or rice. Quinoa is a really good, healthy alternative. And carbohydrates do make about 50 to 65% of your diet, so make sure you get your carbohydrates in some way. I usually like to start my morning off with like eating a slice of toast because that gives me the energy to go to work and get things done. So as you can see, the other side is getting that brown sear. You want that on the other side of your fish as well. I'm having issues because this one's curled really weird. And you can take your spatula and kind of press it down too, to make sure that if it is like curled weird like mine is, you want to flatten it and make sure it's touching the oil in the pan so it is cooking, and it's not just cooking what's touching the pan and not cooking what's not. Again, while we're stuck in quarantine, this is a really good time to get creative with your food, get creative with what you're eating. So hopefully these tips will really help you. Is this your first pageant? No, it is not my first pageant. I did a pageant in high school and in college. Of course, I haven't been in pageants in a while. I am a little older, so I did want to get back into it. Miss National American Teen and Collegiate was a great pageant that I heard of from another queen who participated in it last year, and she spoke nothing but positive things. And so far, my experience with Miss National American Teen and Collegiate has been super positive as well. I've gotten to meet so many people, so many other girls around the country, and found different ways to get involved in our community as well. And even while we are limited on going outside or going places, I know like it's really hard for some people to volunteer as well, just because we are so limited on going outside. MNATC has been giving me the opportunity to still get involved while I am at home. Alright, I'm going to give it one last flip to make sure it has that good sear on it. And again, don't forget to check on your Brussels sprouts. So if you want to take a look at the Brussels sprouts, they're a little bit browning. And if you do see like black edges, it's not a bad thing necessarily to have black. It's not necessarily burnt. They're just really roasted. I'm just going to check on it again. And if you like to have that black edge, you could wait a little longer to give it that crispy Brussels sprout flavor. Could probably sit a couple more minutes in there. those are our last pieces of salmon. This plate is going to be for my sister. Again, if you like the garlic, you can always take the slices of garlic and top it on your salmon. And don't forget to turn your stove off. And we're going to check on the Brussels sprouts one last time. They should be ready by now. Again, you can judge it and decide if you want to keep it in a little longer. My Brussels sprouts are tiny in general. Sometimes you can find like really big Brussels sprouts, and those are my favorite. And again, we have this half of the plate is going to be saved for your vegetables, so a lot of these Brussels sprouts are going to be mine. And the main thing about healthy eating too is just taking control of what you eat and taking control of your food. Probably not the best thing. I chose to scoop it. A spatula so I can grab all of them. Thank you! It's gonna be delicious too. I'm really excited because I'm a huge fan of Brussels sprouts. And to top it off, I'm going to bring my plate so you guys can see it. We'll move this one. So I have some toasted sesame seeds as well that you're going to top your Brussels sprouts with. Give it that more of that sesame nutty flavor right there. There you have it. It's a really delicious meal, really quick and really easy. Again, one of the main things when you're trying to eat healthier is just portioning out your food properly, taking control of what you eat. You don't want to overeat anything. Make sure you're cooking for yourself. I know sometimes when we make pasta, even I do it, we'll make pasta for two and just say like that's a one person portion, but make sure you're not eating like 4 slices of salmon or 5 slices of salmon or like a whole plate of Brussels sprouts when you know you don't need to. So enjoy. Hopefully you guys take my tips and create some healthy meals while you're stuck at home too. Bye!